वो वाला कर दो जो हमने
अस्सलाम वालेकुम नाज़रीन, कैसे हैं आप लोग?
Hello, we are live.
We are live and today we have the best professor ever with us, Professor Haseeb Shaikh.
High on demand.
Very high in demand. We had to squeeze this one in because we were getting some requests for you.
That is very interesting.
Yeah,
That is very interesting to hear.
because we
Strange to hear as well because we haven't had a class together.
exactly
Yeah.
Why I would question both the best and the professor because I'm not even a professor here. But let's get started. Great intro.
So honestly, we
don't get matters.
we finalized our
that's
entire
huge.
faculty list in September and September से पहले बल्कि and हमने बिल्कुल आपको end में approach किया क्योंकि आपके बाद में request आई थी.
Right.
So we're really glad that you could join us. However,
Very
so
nice.
सबसे पहले
सबसे पहले, how has the semester been going for you? How are you doing?
So yeah, this is the start of my second year. So अभी क्योंकि जब मैं शुरू में आया था last year, I remember it was chaos plus now the new faculty members that I see. वो अभी just a week ago I saw this guy, new guy, जो 7 बजे भी अपने ऑफिस में बैठा हुआ था, and I knocked and I entered and we talked for like 15 minutes and I was like साल पहले मैं भी कर रहा था, I don't know how you feel, but now because I'm aware of the setup, also aware of the expectations, so things are a little bit smooth. Yeah, I'm enjoying especially because I came to Habib for the Habib Liberal Core and I'm teaching 3 Liberal Core courses right now, and that's all I'm teaching. So I'm very happy. Scientific methods, logic, and quantitative reasoning, practice of statistics. So they're like a stream. If you connect them all together, I even pitch to my students, कि, oh, ये वाली बात सीखते हैं तो उस course में भी आ गए." So like and subscribe. So yeah, that's what I end up doing in class. So I enjoy it a lot because for me then it's like a continuous experience teaching these 3 classes, even though it may be a lot at times, but it's enjoyable, intellectually very enjoyable.
Do you like spending time on campus?
Yes, so there are some activities that I love doing here on campus.
Like
One of the at the top of them is playing cricket.
Oh.
So before I came here, and at the time of my joining, before I was getting interviewed and all अभी पता नहीं हुआ था कि मैं इधर आऊँगा कि नहीं. So there's one of the senior professors, Dr. Ahmed Usman. He was with me at Georgia Tech. So I was speaking to him and I was like, Sir ji, अगर मैं आया तो हमने cricket खेली है. क्योंकि he used to be our cricket team captain at Georgia Tech, and I used to play in that team. And we were there for 2 years together doing this. So I was very excited to get back and do this. Like, वो कहते हैं ना कि भाई आपने अगर अच्छा खेल रहा है तो आप visualize करें क्या करेंगे. I've been visualizing playing cricket for the past 3 or 4 years without getting an opportunity to play it actually. So that's one of the top activities that I get to do here. And then there's table tennis, which would come at number 3. Number 2 would be talking. Yeah, definitely.
So speaking of Georgia Tech, आप गए बाहर तो आपका experience कैसा था and how did you maintain your Pakistaniyat, if you will, during that time?
Yeah, that's really funny because it starts with the end. When I came back from the US, I landed in Karachi. I was living in Islamabad, but I had to come to Karachi for my first whatever business I had to tend to. तो उस वक्त मैं गाड़ी में बैठा एक दोस्त मेरी फ्रेंड की दोस्त थी, उनकी गाड़ी में बैठा, अबू थे, मदर थी, and I sat in the front with the father. I put my seat belt on, and auntie from the back was like, "बच्चा अमेरिका से आया है." नहीं अमेरिका से इस्लामाबाद से आया हूँ. इस्लामाबाद में बैठ लगा वहाँ का भी चलान होता है. तो I was just held on dearly to my values and my belonging essentially. वहाँ जाके भी I would say to people, yeah. So I cricket again, back to cricket. We had a Pakistani Student Association. We were like around 50 Pakistanis at Georgia Tech in the community. So we would organize different sorts of events. In the Pakistani Student Association, I took care of sports for a year. And we would do a weekend night cricket. It was always supposed to start at 9:30. It never started before 9:50. And I would go to the ground at 9:30. कि यार अगर मैं किसी दिन लेट आ गया ना तो आइंदा मैं किसी को नहीं कह सकता कि तुम क्यों लेट आते हो. I would fight with them every time. And I would take pictures and post it on the PSA group कि वो विकेटें भी हैं, बल्ला भी है, बॉल भी है, बंदे भी हैं. So this is how it would start. So I would say कि यार अच्छा, if you come here and adopt some of their attributes, adopt it wholly, टाइम पे आना भी सीख लो. ये क्या कि अपनी मर्जी की चीजें चुन ली कि भी उनकी बात अच्छी लगती है, ये बात अच्छी नहीं लगती. So I've always been say let's say driven by some rationality. That rationality evolves of course over time. But क्या हाँ प्रिंसिपल असूल मेरा अगर किसी ने मजाक उड़ाना होता है तो वो भाई असूल की बात ये है इधर से शुरू करते हैं मजाक like parody. This is how it is. So yeah, because of having something to hold on to, the principle or a thought जिसके basis पे मैं action करूँगा, whether that's a good thought or not separate. But that's what led me to holding on to whatever values I had here. But overall, all the experience was very good because I got to learn to cook. I think I got to learn to do everything except how to sew a button. वो मैंने काम लाजमी मैं जान के हाथ ही नहीं लगाया. I was like ये एक चीज है जिसको मैं नहीं टच करना चाहता. I want to maintain its sanctity. ये sanctity मुझे आज तक मैं नहीं कर सकता. बात निकाला था कि so I tell people कि when I brush my hair, I keep one strand out of place. If you look at my desktop, everything is clean. There's one faltu file. And generally on my table as well, I'd never make it completely perfect. So this is the sort of thing that I would do over there as well. Yeah, whenever we random so there was that exploration. Plus, the button मैंने नहीं सीना, so this was part of my imperfection that I maintained for the beauty of my life. When I was going for my convocation over there, I wore my coat and its button was loose and it broke while I was walking. So I went to a Pakistani girl's house. I was like, "Baji, button toot gaya." We stood outside on the road and she sewed the button while I was standing on the road there. And then I went to my convocation. So yeah, I'm an idiot. I learned sort of every home sort of thing, but I just don't do this. But abhi so when I was coming to Karachi to permanently live here, on my own with my missus, my mother showed me how to do tanga, but I have not touched it yet. यार अच्छा बटन लगाते हैं ऐसे अगर सारा देश में ऐसे लगाते हैं बटन में आते हैं मैंने बाकी सब कुछ कर दें. No button. So yeah, I learned a lot over there. I learned by myself. By the एक चीज जब आप अकेले कहीं पे रह रहे होते हैं ना, the one thing that happens is कि आप उस कॉन्टेक्स्ट में जिस कॉन्टेक्स्ट में आप रेगुलर लिव कर रहे थे around कुछ norms set हैं, आप उस norms का part हैं, you don't necessarily question them. But when you go somewhere else and you see a different set of norms, first you question क्या ये ऐसे क्यों कर रहे हैं, ये तो सही नहीं है. This is the natural part that comes. But then you over time start asking, अच्छा मैं जो करता हूँ वो मैं क्यों करता हूँ ऐसे? And it becomes a very introspective journey, and you grow a lot. So that for me was very important. It led me to creating my own perspectives on how I should grow. So yeah, I consider that a very central part of my journey.
Just talking about ACA, I feel like this is a good time to plug in at Sustainability Club and at already have a collaboration for a Silai workshop. And
So you should definitely join it.
I will join to observe and not
Yeah, and not
ruin
run.
the
Yeah,
imperfection
yeah,
of my life, right? Imperfection को तो ruin नहीं कर सकते ना. But yes,
next Thursday, CPE, golden hour. That's fine.
let's.
Okay,
Everybody should be there, people. Yes.
But do you have some more interesting stories to share when you were abroad? Some funny
Yeah.
things,
So
anything?
my father, I never wanted to do any award. Rather, I did. Let's not say never, but I. This was not my childish game plan that I'm in right now. My childish game plan was Abba pilot and Manny pilot.
Oh, your father is a pilot.
Yes. So हमने हमेशा जहाज देखे बच्चे होने से बड़े होने तक. So we were like नहीं पायलट ही बनना है. Me, both my elder brother and I had this कहानी. But then with my elder brother, dad and me both. Dad said कि नहीं पायलट नहीं बनना तू काम करो. I was like आप क्या करें? So he said कि यार अगर मुझे खाने वाला नहीं था मेरे टाइम पे तो I am sharing this wisdom with you. And what was that wisdom? That wisdom was कि यार जहाज चलाने वाला जो होता है ना वो हवा में ट्रक ड्राइवर होता है. So हवा में आप ट्रक ना चलाएं. अगर आपको अल्लाह ने दिमाग दिया तो दिमाग का इस्तेमाल करें लोगों को फायदा पहुंचे. So this was the broader vision for life that my father gave to me. Then I was like नहीं मैंने तो जहाज उड़ानी आप जितनी wisdom चाह रहे हैं. So he said कि भाई अच्छा आप पढ़ो. You go do your masters. After that, if you want to join a flying club or something like that, you can do that on your own, right? You can try that. So when I was at Georgia Tech, I went to an air show. Okay, इस तरह की हरकतें करने का. वहाँ जाके पता लगा कि Georgia Tech का अपना flying club भी है.
Ooh.
Somebody in the early 1950s had gifted 2 planes to the university and alumnus.
Of course. Only.
150 साल पुरानी university, right? Almost. So people have this. You may have heard of this in Habib from the president or somebody. Okay, there's a trend of philanthropy-driven institutions or universities in the US. So people really build that culture of giving back to the university. तो जहाज भी दे देते. So they ended up adding 2 more over time over the 70 years till my time came, and there were 4 planes there. I ended up joining that flying club and learning to fly. And it was the scariest thing for me to do because I have height phobia.
Oh.
So great, let's fly, right? So and I have motion sickness issues as well. तो height phobia भी और चक्कर भी आ जाता है तो फिर मतलब जहाज उड़ाना है मैंने लेकिन फिर भी. So that was a crazy thing to do. My thought was क्या अच्छा मैं cockpit में बैठूंगा ना तो वो फीलिंग नहीं आएगी कि मेरे घुटनों में स्प्रिंग लगे हुए मैं बैल्कनी से छलांग मार दूं. Which is what happens when I'm standing at a high sort of place. यार मेरे घुटनों को कोई पकड़े स्प्रिंग लगे हुए छलांग ना लग जाए अचानक से. So this is the height. वो कहानी या जहाज में वो नहीं हुआ but because जहाज में वो इसलिए नहीं हुआ because there was so much else to be scared about and do. So crazy experience. Day 1 of my flying, my instructor made me land 4 times with his help. तो जो पहला सबसे क्लियर होता है ना वो जमीन के करीब हवा में तो आप उड़ रहे हैं तो इट्स लाइक सही है पीसफुल स्पेस बट जमीन पे आके हल्की सी गलती की तो मर जाएंगे ये होता है ना डायरेक्ट देयर इज नो मिडिल ग्राउंड राइट. सो थ्रू दैट आई एसेंशियली लर्न के highest level of risk पे रहते हुए how do you perform also at your highest level because you have to be mentally and physically completely there. So how do you handle that sort of black and white level of risk, not just gray sukoon jo hamara academia, right? So I came from that sort of background. Day 1 when we were flying back, so I saw this cloud of a cell of clouds. It was in the middle of us and the airport where we wanted to go. So the instructor took over because I had no experience of working with any of this. And he flew the plane right at the edge of the cell. इस तरह से कि हमारे लेफ्ट विंग पे बारिश आ रही थी और राइट विंग पे धूप थी और मेरे फेस के सामने इधर आई कैन स्टिल रिमेंबर रेनबो दिखते हुए फेस ऊपर. And it was like so beautiful to see. So the kinds of experiences you can't have in any other way. Those I got to try through that.
Yeah.
Made
Made
great
great
friends.
friends.
Actually, it restored my faith in people. When I was in uh, before undergrad, I had this my undergraduate
Mhm.
program at जाने से पहले. I was that naive kid who was like, trust until trust is broken. And then by the end of my undergraduate degree, I was like, don't trust until somebody proves themselves. So through that master's program, the kinds of people I got to meet and the friends I made, that faith again was restored. So I'm also glad for that as part of my Fulbright program. Yeah.
But
So,
it's excellent. Sorry, I just want to switch laptops real quick because that one's lagging a lot, and we don't want you to lag. We can lag, but you can't lag.
yeah, I do a lot of online gaming
Yeah,
in which lag is a big problem.
yeah.
And yeah, when we're lagging or if I'm lagging, it's a very tense atmosphere.
Yeah.
उसके बाद ठीक है ना यार अच्छा हंस रही है गेम मैं तो इतना खिलाड़ी हूँ लेकिन गेम हंस रही है मैं तो खिलाड़ी हूँ so ये मेरा कसूर नहीं है and then you are like hating on the world so yeah I can imagine lag मेरा नहीं होना चाहिए भाई
तो उससे वास्ता नहीं होना
आपका ही
चाहिए
होना
हमारा
चाहिए।
is fine.
हाँ भाई आपका lag होगा मेरा नहीं होगा तो फिर ही मैं जीतूँ
Okay, cool. Let's go on to the next question. So, आपने अपने father के बारे में बताया कि वो pilot हैं, तो आप अपने childhood के बारे में जरा बताएं. Tell us how that also affected you.
How's your घर का माहौल like?
yeah so my father's from Karachi
Okay.
and my mother is from let's say Pindi. And my father, because he was in the Air Force, so we as kids, we just roamed around. We didn't have really a single city that we call home. Humse, my mother says that my elder brother, when he was young, once went to the barber shop and the barber was like, "Aap log kahan se hain?" So he was like, मैं तो सरगोदा से हूँ मेरा छोटा भाई कराची से है उससे छोटा भाई क्वेटा से है so my mother would say you guys can sing that army anthem which is Sindhi hum Balochi hum Punjabi hum Pathan hum is परचम के नीचे पाक फौज के जवान. So I was like when people ask me where are you from in terms of the city I say Pakistan. इससे ज़्यादा मैं specify नहीं कर सकता. When I was age 2.5 we went to China for a couple of years and my first memories of life जो कि मेरे दिमाग में है कोई visual all of those are from China. I remember I think 4 things from there. I remember watermelon ice cream not sorbet. Watermelon sorbet मिलता है
Yeah.
ये सारे fancy round की जगह पे right but watermelon ice cream ice lolly I have not had it ever again and I dream of it. उसका मुझे कभी कभी taste आता है and I'm like I need to find it. I tried very hard in the US, went to different places, tried to find it, couldn't. Solve नहीं मिलता था हर जगह पे. So yeah, someday we had it under the CCTV tower. It's the Chinese central TV station, news and all.
How old were you?
3,
Oh.
3, yeah, something like that. My first memory in life is कि मेरे लेफ्ट साइड पे हम एक पार्क गए थे और लेफ्ट साइड पे एक गंगा था जिसमें बॉल करी गई थी दैट स्विमिंग पूल ऑफ बॉल दैट्स माय फर्स्ट मेमोरी इन लाइफ and then एक ये हो गई one of the other 4 is कि my elder brother beat me on the recent track. So yeah I was that small. My elder brother is 3.5 years older than me. So when we started doing the go-karting kahani at that age I could either press the pedal or look up. I couldn't do both. But by the end of those 2 years there, I'd grown up enough to do both things together. So we could actually compete in some way. And the very final race that we had, I was leading until the final lap when I took a sharper turn than was necessary and hit the tire wall and then we still
I like how
hold
you
a grudge.
I
Still
love
hold
how
a grudge. Yeah, these are things I remember from. So, ice creams, khelna, these are central focuses of my life still. I say I keep my the inner child alive. इसीलिए cricket is at the top. ये करने आया हूँ मैं अभी बाकी सब secondary है. Different cities roamed around. Eventually, Islamabad is where we settled in the second half of life issues. So if you have to say कि मैं कहीं एक city से हूँ, तो that would be Islamabad. But I was born in Karachi myself.
Mhm.
And yeah, eventually just studied there. One thing that I say is a very big contributor to my work ethic was was that when we would go from one city to another, it would be during the summers.
Oh.
Summers में posting होती थी. तो अगर समर वेकेशन होमवर्क होता था ना, तो हमने अपने स्कूल में तो सबमिट कराना नहीं, क्योंकि इधर से चले जाना है. अगले स्कूल में जाके तो हम तो स्कूल में ही नहीं है, तो वहाँ पे भी समर वेकेशन होमवर्क. So I got to not do summer vacation homework for a few years, which led me to not doing any homework later on. But I was always a good student, great student at that. But डंडी मारनी थी कि भाई अच्छा मैंने होमवर्क नहीं करना, काम पूरा कर लेंगे, सीख लेंगे, लेकिन लिखना नहीं होगा. So I used to hate writing. हाथ में भी दर्द हो जाता है. Even when I went to my school recently, my high school teacher was like, "Oh, तुम अभी भी पेन गलत तरह पकड़ते हो." So there's some problem with me and writing. But I developed a love for writing a year or two ago when COVID started, because I was like, I'm tired of this digital drama. So when I got a digital writing pad, I was very happy doing that, and now I like using pen and paper. Yeah, interesting developments that the context situations bring to you, and yeah, that's how my childhood led to some ingredients of what, right? अगर मैं शुरू हुआ तो खत्म नहीं होगा. You can move on if you want.
No, but it's really
I told you
interesting.
folks कि आप लोग बहुत बड़ी गलती कर रहे हैं. फैकल्टी वाले लोग मौलवी होते हैं, मौलवियों को माइक नहीं देना चाहिए. खिताब शुरू होता है, खुतबा शुरू होता है, तो खत्म नहीं होता.
But I think this is necessary. People should know how interesting the faculty members are, because it's
How मौलवी है.
well.
If that's your tagline, we'll keep
Yeah.
it.
ठीक है.
कोई भी अगर कोई स्टूडेंट आपको पहली दफा देखेगा, वो नहीं सोचेगा कि आपने जिंदगी में इतना कुछ किया है.
Yeah, it's really
Yeah, but it's surprising for us. So
yeah, like we just knew you as a DSSC faculty, like nothing.
and especially when the name ECE professor comes in, it becomes even more jarring for people.
Hello my EC people, please लाज रखें, अपनी लाज रखें, ऐसे ना करें.
एक इसी बंदे का कमेंट आया था नीचे जब हमने पोस्टर डाला था.
Yeah, so engineers get this sort of rap. Even when I was in the US, there was this one lady who once said to me, "Oh, I could tell that you're from a forces background." I was like, "That's very interesting." So I've over time I write stuff at times. Okay. And one of the pieces that I've written is about who I am as a character, and one of the character traits I have is I want to be known, but I also want to be completely unpredictable, which is a paradox, right? If I'm known, then I can be predicted, but if I'm unpredictable and unique, that then. So I end up or tend to change if people end up understanding who I am. So I run away from labels. अगर किसी का लेवल से कोई मीनिंग बन रहा है, I'm like, अच्छा अब मैं क्या करके दिखा सकता हूँ कि मैं ये लेवल तोड़, right? मैं क्या करके दिखा सकता हूँ कि I'm not an Air Force kid, bloody fool, right? So that's part of who I am, weirdo that way, which is why I've done a lot of these strange things as well, and also because I get bored easily. It's hard to keep me excited, so then I look for new things.
So speaking of labels, you told us that the only label that you'd like is problem solver. Would you like to talk more about that?
Or better than that, a human is what I say to my students as well. Don't let people label you as an AHSS kid or a DSSE kid or a scientist or a falana. The only label you should be okay with is human. But yeah, problem solving broadly I consider to be one of the central aims of living where problems will exist at all times, and humans generally, time चाहे 200 साल पुराना, 1000 साल पुराना है, अभी का है, फ्यूचर का है, problems are generally of the same nature. And then how good you are at solving those problems determines कि आप navigate के कहाँ सकते हो. And I'm an engineer, but I'm teaching courses which are sort of not at all close to what I studied. And there's a lot else that I'm not yet teaching, which I would be happy teaching. Plus, I have a business degree. Plus, I'm an entrepreneur from my professional background, but also the pilot company, writing, and all of these various things combined to be who I am. जब मैं engineer था और engineer छोड़ के उससे अगली stage पे आया, तो people would ask me क्या अच्छा आपने engineering छोड़ के आप इधर आ गए हैं, ये क्या बात, आपने उस उधर जो सीखा वो apply नहीं हो रहा, ये तो ज़ाया नहीं हो गया आपका time. I said कि no, engineer is somebody who solves problems using technology. What I've done is technology की जगह मैंने dash लगा दिया. I'm somebody who solves problems using dash. One of those things can be technology. That's when I'll use my engineering skill. But the problem solving that I learned, वो process same होता है engineering में भी और बाकी जगहों पे. If you look at how engineering design is done, वो purely engineers को पढ़ा रहे होते हैं. And then how design thinking is done, जो कि social scientists को अमूमन पढ़ा रहे होते हैं. Both methods are essentially the same. If you look at their essence and their flow, both methods are essentially the same. So tools different use हो रहे होते हैं, processes, methodologies जो सोच का element होता है ना वो similar होता है, which is always something that I've been interested in, or something I got really interested in figuring out when people in my undergrad said to me, यार आप शेख तू जिधर से सोचना शुरू होता है हमारी सोच खत्म हो चुकी होती है. I was like अच्छा मैं special नहीं हूँ ये महले हैं. Honestly, that's how I thought. But when I joined it, I was like अच्छा मैं यहाँ आ गया हूँ, यहाँ पे तो जिन लोगों ने apply किया और वो सब भी अच्छे लोग होंगे, तो मैं इनसे अच्छा नहीं हो सकता. I'm probably within average bracket in the politics separate. So still there was this one guy, Indian. He said to my friend, so when Haseeb asked a question in the class, we look at each other and ask ourselves, are we in the same classroom as him? For me, very strange thing to hear. And then the professor also said, yo, if you were to do a PhD in this field, I want you to do it with me because you asked the right questions. And after some of these experiences, I ended up thinking, okay, what is it that I'm doing that is different in terms of thinking, because whatever I do is normal for me. So what is the normal for other people? And what's the difference? And how have I gotten here? That's what essentially started my journey into exploring how people think. And eventually, because that's not a central part of our education system, I was like, अच्छा ये मसला solve करना है हमारे education system में ये चीज़ भी add करनी है कि लोगों को सोचना सिखाना है. I did it as an entrepreneur because the system broadly is not interested in this. They're like exam pass करो और आगे चलो. That's all you need. नौकरी चाहिए. But Habib is one of those few places that is doing it or trying to give an intellectual experience to people. So that's what eventually attracted me here as well. Yeah, Habib Liberal Core. My main aim is लोगों को सोचना सिखाना other than their degree as well. So I want to be here, do that, learn more about this. Plus also explore some of my own ideas of how people. So yeah, that's how this sort of background ends up connecting here. I would want people to not then look at their journey in the form of the title of their degrees. Okay, I want them to look at it in terms of the skills they learn, and then where those skills can go. And you have to look at life as not boxed pieces or the different pieces of life. You don't have to box them. अच्छा मैं lab technician हूँ, मैं scientist हूँ, मैं इस तरह में हूँ, मेरा ये काम है और बाकी चीज़ें handle करना है. No, life is a jungle. There is no system. You have to navigate it. You have to navigate it, and you have to navigate it using what you learn. Problem solving is essential. That's how I teach any course that I teach. Yeah, what problem does this solve? Is it an interesting problem to solve or a useful problem to solve? If yes, then that's learning.
Do you associate your problem solving skills with social causes, working for social causes?
Yeah, um, social entrepreneurship was what I did before I joined here. Um, I once upon a time was running this organization named Let Us Be Kids.
Oh.
It was an organization to empower street children, basically get them off the streets and into the regular stream of life. Not a shelter, which supports them and gives them basic necessities, but the regular stream of life, which is socially inclusive. Okay? Because if a kid is in a shelter, they get food and water and the resources to study and all, but they're still not part of regular society. So the central aim of that organization was to build that sort of environment that can get those kids from the street to the regular society without taking any money in. Instead generating its own money, which is what initially attracted me to it. Yeah, Chao, I want to learn how financial mathematical models can be brought to social organizations which are mostly a black hole for money. जब पैसा आया खर्च हो गया गायब हो गया ठीक है there is no generation. So that's what initially attracted me to it, but then I very much got associated with the cause too. And over time that exposure to people outside my normal domain until then was just academics or learnings as a student, right? So that exposure really gave me that first training in empathy. And yeah, my overall broader journey has to do then with that's what reconnected me to what my father told me. कि यार कोई ऐसा काम करे जिससे लोगों को फायदा हो. And that is part of it. That's part of what made me whole. So social enterprises, social causes. I say people do or work for those social causes which personally affect them. And I think Pakistan itself is a social cause that personally affects all of us. I will take Pakistan as one social. That's something my Mrs. is not very interested in. Yeah, बहुत बड़ा मसला है ना आप यहाँ पर बताएं. But yeah, that's what I'm interested in working on, Pakistan.
So why did you decide to relocate to Karachi? Is it because of Habib mainly?
Yeah, I had my grandparents in Karachi, so I visit every year or every couple of years. And when I came back from Georgia Tech, I landed here. One of my first questions was, "Is this city good enough for me to come and work here?" The answer was no. I visited again, no. Visited again, no. But then,
But then you were
but
doing
then I
opportunity.
gave up on the city question, and I said, "Ki wo maqsad matters above all else." And there are problems that are part of me relocating from there to here, from Islamabad to here. But I look at it as a long-term thing, and I can accept the problems more easily then. My missus had never been to Karachi, and her perception of Karachi was only based on news.
No.
So अगर news के basis पे आपने कराची की या even पाकिस्तान की perception बनानी है तो it's a very different perception that. So the way I ended up having to pitch it to her, and we were unmarried, we were not married, and we were still in the phase of will we get married or not, right? That sort of space where nothing had been clearly spoken about or decided. But when I got this opportunity, then I said to her, okay, oh, and this was my way of saying, "Oh, do you want to get married?" I was like, should I take this job because that's a very different direction and place that would uh, 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 that it would lead to in terms of my life or also yours, essentially, right? And she just told me a few days ago, okay, her mind went like, what is happening at that point in time? And I was like very normal, casual about it. So yeah, I pitched it to her as a Karachi is not the long-term destination. It's a stepping stone to other things. But it's not places that I really care about. At the end of the day, I am about uh, what do we want to get done. One thing that's been a constant. So I told you one constant that I faced. Yatha, you think differently. Another constant that I faced after coming back to Pakistan, wherever I work with, whoever I work with, they would ask, "कि आप यहाँ क्या कर रहे हैं?" And I say to people कि ये सवाल मुझसे बहुत लोगों ने बहुत बार पूछा कि आप यहाँ क्या कर रहे हैं, लेकिन ये सवाल मुझसे कभी किसी ने नहीं पूछा कि आप यहाँ क्या कर रहे हैं. There's a difference in intonation. उनका फोकस होता है यहाँ पे कि भाई आप यहाँ बिलोंग नहीं करते, आपका काम जो है वो अच्छा है, आप जाएं अच्छे मुल्क में करें, ठीक है, जहाँ पे आपको रिवॉर्ड मिले इसका. एंड आई से कि आप जगह पे यहाँ पे फोकस ना करें, आप क्या पे फोकस करें और क्या करने पे. Focus on the verb, on the action, not on the place and the facilities that it gives to you. So that's been central to me. That's what makes it easy for me to accept what I did to myself by relocating here, right? Not easy for a lot of people, but I'm the sole reason that I came is because of Habib, because it matches the kind of things that I want to do, and the future is not purely or only Habib, right? The future is solving some of these problems and solving Pakistan essentially. So this is the pathway that I see to be the one that can get me to that objective fastest. So that's fine.
I don't think you would ever be rejected in an interview.
You'd be surprised. So the kinds of things that can get a person excited about another one in social conversation, they can always be looked at as a negative when they're looked at from an organizational lens. For example, I told you I get bored easily. Organizations are though interested in longevity, right? So then they look at that chaos that is my life and see a red flag instead of seeing excitement. So that can also be this is not every organization's story, but yeah, that's a reality that exists out there. So one thing I've done with myself is work a lot on understanding myself and understanding the life around me to see what works and what doesn't work. So I rarely apply to places because I reject them on the basis of they wouldn't accept me either because we don't have synergy, right?
So Habib's values are based on Yosin, and you're saying कि आप problems of Yosin का course करेंगे ऐसा कि
I will do a seminar on this topic on the problem with Yosin. The problem essentially is not with the concept of Yosin, but with how we are trying to get there. Yosin has these 5 prongs. All 5, would you agree, are they character associated or intellect associated? What are they associated? Interview हो रहा है भाई.
ये तो हमें
So self-respect, respect, beauty, passion, excellence, service. Are all of these intellectual abilities or character traits?
Characteristic.
Right? What does Habib offer to you in terms of its liberal core? It offers you an intellectual experience.
Yeah.
So already, and as far as character building is concerned, I have not heard anyone ever say कि character building का ये plan. And if I were to be blunt and honest, I would say कि as far as character building is concerned, there are some positives, but some grave negatives that the environment of Habib University gives to kids. Due to which we are not, our plan does not match the objective that way. It's a very great thing to do, this intellectual experience, but it doesn't match that vision necessarily. because of this. And then there are lot of other detailed points to my critique and things that I want to add in terms of solutions. So I don't. One of the things I learned in the past few years, I was a complainer like 5, 6 years ago, 7 years ago. I was a big complainer. Okay? जैसे I was saying, जो भाई वो time पे नहीं आते, so I would be like, oh, time पे क्यों नहीं आते, I'm complaining, right? I learned this over time कि complain करने का क्योंकि फायदा तो नहीं होता mostly. To complain करके I'm wasting my energy, and instead I would channel that towards I'll find the solution, or I'll work with people to find the solution, and I'll only talk about that problem in the context of हम solve कैसे करें, not to complain or rant. कि जब पे solution भी आ जाए, then we'll talk about the problem broadly. So I have a solution perspective, or a limited solution I want to offer in terms of character building. Things that I did and learned from my own life. I have a watch that I designed. The 12 prongs of it are 12 values that I consider to be stepping stones towards what you can then hope for in terms of yourself. Those are the steps, the character building steps that need to be taken. And I designed it as a watch for myself, not for others. But for myself, कि यार अच्छा, I want to wear this so that I can remind myself what I'm supposed to do. Because we are all fallible. हमारे अंदर मसाइल हैं, हम गलती करते हैं, हम emotionally driven reactive हरकतें करते हैं, which are not always the right thing to do in a particular situation. So I wanted to have something on me. I hate tattoos, so I was like, मैं घड़ी बना लेता हूँ जो मेरे हाथ में हो, मैं उसको देख सकूँ, and I can be like, अच्छा, this is my message to myself. बाकी तो मैंने किसी की बात नहीं सुनी. No, I haven't physically made it, but I created a design for it. So I was like, अच्छा, if I look at it, मैंने अपने आप को कहा है तो मैं अपनी बात सुन सकता हूँ, बाकी किसी की बात सुनूं ना सुनूं, जब इमोशन में सेल्फ राइचियसनेस आ गई मेरी. When you're emotional, it's harder to listen to other people when they're trying to calm you down. So I was like, अच्छा नहीं, still I can listen to myself at that point in time. So that's a solution that I would offer to people. कि यार अच्छा, this is what you need to do. इसकी theme simple है. Do the right thing step by step. The right thing is not always easy to do, and always not. जो हमें एक बड़े कॉन्टेक्स्ट में राइट थिंग नजर आ रही होती है ना, वो मोस्टली अनअचीवेबल, या इसीलिए लोगों को आइडियलिस्ट और कह के डिसमिस किया जा रहा होता है कि भाई जो राइट रॉन्ग की बात करते हैं और राइट पे ही हमेशा करना चाहिए, दे आर आइडियलिस्ट इडियट्स. आई से कि नहीं, आइडियलिज्म को आप रियलिज्म के साथ जोड़ सकते हैं. यू कैन कम अप विद अ प्रॉपर प्लान फॉर थिंग्स. आप करंट रियलिटी, करंट क्रैप स्टेट एक्सेप्ट करो जो भी है, उस पे रियल स्टेप्स लेके टेक स्टेप्स इन दैट डायरेक्शन दैट लीड यू टू दैट फाइनल ऑब्जेक्टिव. Those 12 कहानियां 1 to 12 are steps that I've created for myself. अच्छा मैं ये करता हूँ ना तो I improve, and I consider improvement or growth to be a better objective than excellence. Don't kill me. So this is how
I
sort
think
of my
it somewhere makes sense.
It does, yeah.
yeah, and then I say it's we are at an academic institution, and discussing these philosophies is what gets us right, openly and properly. So yeah, that's what I hope to offer to the broad community here. Part of why I also want to do it is I realized at the end of my first year here, during the summers, I didn't feel like meeting people, because I was like, oh, small talk gatherings, I don't want to go to. Then I was like, am I also only contributing small talk to these gatherings if I go to them? Or am I being real? And I realized that there are things that I built before joining Habib that I have not really exposed to people, which I think are of value. So because I'm not being completely me, that's also contributing to the kinds of conversations I've had. So I decided to just go all out and showcase my ideas to people, discuss it with them so that they can be improved, the ideas can be improved, and I can improve, and people around me can improve as well. So that's the whole idea.
Really looking forward to the seminar.
Inshallah. Let's see if they let me do it. I don't know what they'll say about the problem with your city. क्या कह रहे हैं? क्या नहीं they say? No, I'll say कि this is an academic institution. यहाँ हम free speech करते हैं. Please माफ कर दीजिए. हाँ, yeah.
Have you pitched it?
No. So yeah, this is the
This
first
is your
time.
second one.
This is the first time people broadly are hearing about it. There are a couple of people who I've told personally, but yeah, people in general don't know that what's been cooking.
Okay. On a different note, you said you're a video game enthusiast.
Yes.
For our viewers who are really interested in it, we would like to know which games you're interested in and why you enjoy playing them.
Yeah, so one game I play very regularly is Dota. Defense of the Ancients. It's a multiplayer game, 5 versus 5. So there's a lot of chaos and toxicity. I thrive in that, right? No, so because online stuff is mostly anonymous, you're playing with anonymous people. As you know, when there's anonymity online, people show their worst colors mostly. So it's sort of that stressful, toxic situation where you still have an objective to meet. So how do you meet an objective while dealing with all of this stuff? That's been a great part of my learning as well. Positive and negative. Anyway, so yeah, that then one of my favorite game series is Assassin's Creed. I love the concept that they built. Basically, they broke the idea of time in that game. So they created this narrative of how there is a consistent problem, a high level problem that's being faced by humanity since the start till today, and in the future it shall be faced too, and how people in different eras work with that same problem. And you get to play those eras, be in those places, meet people like Leonardo da Vinci or George Washington or Salahuddin Ayyubi and Napoleon Bonaparte, and really get to experience evolutions and revolutions of the history of the world. So for me, that's been, and they did it through a scientific explanation as well. So I really like how they connected these ideas together. And then my favorite single game to ever play, and I'll admit that is Max Payne 2 because of how dark it is and how beautiful its dialogues and narrative are. So it's a film noir genre-based game. Very beautiful cinematics and very metaphor-associated dialogues. खूबसूरत बात है. I love it. If you wanna, it's a game that you can even just look at. It's all of its cinematics and combine them to enjoy. That's why a movie was made on that game as well. Once upon a time, that movie is crap. Don't go there. I have not watched it, but I've not watched it because it got such bad reviews. So yeah, these are some of the games I enjoy. Broadly, I enjoy gaming as well. Since I got married, I've been introducing new games to my Mrs. Assassin's Creed is what she's on these days. And bookworm. Yeah, because we are both nerds. It's a word making game out of letters.
So,
You make there are letter tiles and you connect them and make words. Yeah.
so one of our shows is called Multiverse Off the Record, and they literally play games. So if you're interested, check it out.
Oh, lovely.
And
Yeah,
they talk
I've
about
never heard about it before. Would love to check it out.
Yeah.
Definitely. Thank
Okay.
you.
So, okay, so this one's a bit fun. So the show is called Fact Culty, and the cult is supposed to denote the fan base that the professor has. And my question to you is that are you aware of this fan base, and do you know that why exactly you're famous on campus?
So other faculty members have shared this with me. There's this friend I had who's not here anymore. He was a faculty member, Ahmed Umar Ashraf. He and I were teaching a maths course together, and he would say, and he was mostly bald, so he would say, "Okay, look, these what are they called, the feedback average, that the score that we get out of 5, it should be normalized based on the amount of hair on your head, because you have hair, I don't have hair, I'll automatically get a lower feedback compared to you. So my feedback should be looked at differently than yours. And whenever we would get out of the mosque, I generally am just fixing my hair. That's let's say a fidgeting thing that I do. And he would get out and he would start doing this on his head, on his bald head, to just tease me. So I think there's something there that I think people who just have a likable persona get treated or get evaluated better than others, which is unfair, but it's reality. So there's some of that, but I don't really. I judge myself. I'm maybe my harshest judge.
Okay.
So I buy some of it, but not all of it.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, I'm not exactly aware of the extent of it.
So you're kind of a faculty crush actually
Yeah.
for a lot of the female population on the campus. Thoughts on that? Have you heard about it?
Actually, Miss Munira told me this recently.
Yeah.
Some of her students were saying that, and I just go home and I tell Sarah, my missus, these stories, and we just have a lot of fun. And so one recent change that I brought to my outlook, physical outlook, is the hairband these days, right? It's a new edition, and people have had quite a few comments to give about that. But our internal discussion at home, or rather, my discussion within my head is, I always had this sort of relationship with my hair, where I would say 2 days yours, 1 day mine. I let you be as you want for 2 days, and then for 1 day, I'll set you properly as I want. So we had this sort of relationship.
Wow.
But now I think they're grown up enough that they can be given some tough love without them crying out loud. So this is me trying to fix them permanently.
Mhm.
So this is just you can call it a remedy, medicinal.
Mhm.
But yeah, it has its outcomes, and yeah, it's just it's funny and it's fun. I coupled it with glasses on a couple of days just to see, okay, how much more ridiculous can this get? Yeah, it's fun, but I think that of course that's not the main focus of what I'm doing.
Right.
Yeah.
That's cool.
Yeah.
Do you remember any interesting student encounter?
In this context,
Or any context?
Oh, this context.
Oh,
would
this
be fun.
context would be
This
fun.
would be funny.
in this context, when I so day one of hair transplant classes,
Yeah.
I went to my scientific class, and the kids were like, "Sir, आज ऐसा लग रहा है कि आप like बहुत पढ़ते हैं, आप scientist हैं. You are a scientist and you read a lot." So I was like, "Does that mean on normal days I look like somebody who does not read anything and is not a scientist because I take offense to that?" So, it's funny how people take small data points and take meanings out of it. I generally so there's this sort of idea. I've talked about this. I have a theory on how people think, and that theory has to do with theory is to build connections based on context. किस चीजों को connect करेंगे जो आपको context में मिल रही हैं, and context में क्या चीजें ज़्यादा उठ के मिल रही होती हैं, those are mostly from the senses because they come with an emotional driver as well. So people will always be superficial, is a given, right? And then you use this, take it as superficial and don't let it get to your head. That's something that I do with it. Yeah. It's nice. It's nice, but you must remind yourself that it's superficial. It has no value at the end of the day. In reality.
So the last segment where you will give an opportunity to ask us. We give you an opportunity to ask us 3 questions or more. Anything. It could be anything.
It could be us as individuals, us as
Hosts
hosts and friends, or just like representatives of the student community.
What do you think are the worst parts of the culture here of the university?
I hate Batak. I just hate Batak.
Why?
Because it's a place where it doesn't only enable smoking, it actually elicits it because it's a cool spot to hang out in. And I think the smoking area should be like the most uncomfortable place ever, so that people who actually do have that addiction can just come and go.
But it's become more of a party spot. And then people who don't smoke, it is uncomfortable for them. For example, I have stopped going to Better because of this, because I feel left out there. And then I'm like, oh, मैं तो गलत कर रही हूँ.
हम second hand smoke भी नहीं लंबी करनी.
Yes, so that is thing. I mean, and also they have designated 2 spots. Mehfil is empty all the time. I don't understand why it's only for faculty and adjunct जबकि वहाँ
Students allowed नहीं.
students allowed नहीं है, which is absurd. आप एक spot दें, क्योंकि Mehfil and Better both are like really beautiful spots
Yeah.
to just sit and hang out. But
And there's no reason to give it to smoking. I don't get it.
Yeah, that's part of what I was saying when I said कि character building के हवाले से some of the parts of the design, design promote something negative, right? So you're not creating an atmosphere that leads to the objectives that you want to. Yeah, completely with you on that. So बैठक बंद करा दें. Is that the position of
Better for smoking
faculty radio show?
No. Personal opinion, not the show.
Personal opinion?
Can't let the brand get affected.
Mehfil और बैठक में से एक कोई हो स्मोकिंग पॉइंट, या तो फिर
या तो एक छोटी सी बात में दे दो.
As you say, it should be the most uncomfortable spot. That you come, you smoke, and then you go back.
Yeah, I respect that completely. All right, so more questions. If you were a teacher here at the university, what would you do that none of your teachers have yet done with you in class or outside of class?
A Kahoot quiz. Yeah, हम स्कूल में बहुत करते थे. हाई स्कूल में बहुत ज़्यादा Kahoot के quizzes होते थे. यहाँ पे नहीं है. Yesterday I deleted the app yesterday, and I was like, यहाँ पे Kahoot के quizzes नहीं
That's
होते.
sad. That's sad.
I would.
There are a couple of teachers that I guess luck of the
मुझे
draw.
नहीं आया
will
था.
get-
I would have movie watch parties with them, and I would play games with them, truth and dare, or just some fun.
Will you be open to sharing all your truths? Or will you always take it?
Depends on how the students are.
Oh yeah, the student.
And on the flip side, what's the part of the culture that you love the most?
How safe it is. This is a safe space. I've never felt uncomfortable or unsafe, or that someone's judging me. People are very respectful of whatever you do. People are accepting of whatever you do, and it is a bubble. So when you step out, you feel like, oh shit, I'm in the real world now. So there is this safe zone as soon as you enter. And also how people are so helpful of each other. They try their best to pass on the values from batch to batch. They are not like, अच्छा हम तो graduate हो रहे हैं, अब हमारी जिम्मेदारी नहीं है. They actually care about the values that Habib offers.
Yeah, I've one of the things that I've seen about students here, which I find to be really great, that they are very kind and nice. I have not seen that before in at least the universities I was in Pakistan. Because that's not the kind, nice, and open as well. All three of these together is rare.
And also very transparent.
Yeah.
I mean, जो भी होता है, they communicate. So
I don't think people will agree with you, but
I think also okay. I also find the students here very strange in a way. Okay, a lot of what they've already experienced in life, I can't even relate to now. Right? maybe maybe that's a Habib only thing, or a type of institution thing, or maybe that's a new kid thing
For
everywhere.
example,
Yeah.
For example, my first month, I had so many students say to me कि हम बहुत परेशान हो रहे हैं, and I never experienced uh, anxiety as a student, even for those kids who were bad in my university. They were not experiencing anxiety as a normal experience that they regularly go through. Uh, we were relatively more chill about life, and now life seems to be full of parishan. And then drugs and alcohol and stuff like that. I think that's also so much more common relative to how I experienced it in my university. I studied at NAS in Islam. Maybe army के अंदर maybe कोई और बात है. I don't know. But yeah, the that, and then there is a level of awareness that we have which we did not have, which is always nice to see, surprising, makes conversation so much nicer to have with students. So yeah, sometimes I find students very strange that way. Uh, not not strange in the sense that I can't recognize them, but strange in the sense that I can't imagine what led to them having all of these experiences that they already have had. Okay, what's the structure of life? So the structure of life, the whole background seems somewhat alien to me at times. One of the reasons for that also is that uh, I do not do social media. I stay away from it. I never post anything, and I don't have the Facebook app. I don't have the Instagram app. The only social thing that I have on my phone is Twitter, which I have only to post my own kahaniya. So I don't interact there. I don't look at stuff. And then YouTube, which I use to watch stuff that I enjoy. Other than that, I don't do social media. I stay away from it, and I think that's such a central part of kids' lives now. I had my first smartphone in Georgia Tech when I was doing my master's. My wife, who's three years younger, 4 years younger than me, she had her first smartphone even before I did, in real time, not in terms of age. In real time, she had her smartphone, I think, in 2010 for the first time. I had it in 2014. So people have a different sort of life structure and exposure. हमारे से फौरन बाद का एक कोई ब्रैकेट है कि जहाँ पे कुछ कट ऑफ हुआ है, which to me sometimes is very alien. So yeah, uh, always something to learn from kids then, and always interesting.
So now we'll be wrapping up the show because the 1 hour mark has been hit.
Oh,
So
wait,
yeah,
I have a
no,
last
no,
question.
we have two questions.
Okay.
अच्छा, तुम अपना करो.
Who are your faculty besties?
So my bestie from the first semester, we went to Relocate, as I told you. But then it took me a whole semester to eventually make another friend. But currently, I can be found often in Dr. Humera Jamshed's office or in Dr. Sahab's office. And Dr. Anzar is also somebody that I close to. My wife and I visited his home recently. And then Hassan Furkan. His family and mine also met just on this past weekend. So there are a few of these, but I think Humera and Sahab are my current go-tos. along with somebody जिनसे मेरी दोस्ती faculty ने बताया, generally कोई just life wise was Munira. So Munira has essentially been that consistent friend that I've had since the start of the year because we lived together. So there was a life outside of the university faculty space that we spent together. So yeah, we still are in constant contact, and it's always a lot of fun. I think that's why she also recommended Daud Sabati because we are nice friends. Yeah, and there are quite a few new interesting people that joined and say, "Gapshap hoi hoti hai," but yeah, these are the people you can find me around.
So this is the second time that we haven't been able to get through all of our questions. So good job.
Okay, Molly,
Yeah, we did not even go like half of the document.
Yeah.
I am sure.
So some other time, inshallah,
मेरी
if
अपनी
you're up
सासों
for
में यही
it.
मसला होता है यार कैसे खत्म करें जो पढ़ा है
आखिरी क्वेश्चन आपके लिए ये है कि ये फैकल्टी शो पे हमें किस फैकल्टी मेंबर को बुलाना चाहिए that we have to.
There is one faculty member, I told him as well. I'm interested in knowing him, but I've never had time to meet him. That's Dr. Haris. I'm very curious about him, and I've never really had a chance to talk to him outside of formality. So I'd want to use, because this is your exposing people to us, I want him exposed.
Awesome.
Yes.
Okay, thank you so much for coming on the show, and we enjoyed thoroughly.
Yes.
Thank you so
I
much.
did too. Thank you so much.
Bye.